Howdy, folks. Steve here with a few thoughts for the day. Remember back a few years ago, I was talking to a guy about this and that and everything. I like to have somehow an in-depth conversation sometimes. And the discussion turned to soul, as in Soul, the Alma, right? And whether or not we have a soul. And he stood up and went and got himself a tea or another beer or something. He says, I don't know if I got a soul, but I can tell you one thing. I've got an R soul. So, this is kind of humor. It was pretty funny at the time. But anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about. Not so much the R soul, but the soul. Because, as I mentioned, and selfish plug, that's all right. I'm writing another book right now. I'm in the process of it. I've been hunkered down in my cave here for a few weeks. I just got to 290 pages of rough copy, so I don't know what I'm gonna do with this thing. And it's about my walk that I went on last year, which was an 8,000 kilometer, just over 6 month walk, epic walk, from one coast of North America to the other coast, from the west to the east. Ended up at the most easterly point of North America, Cape Spear on the island of Newfoundland. The theme of the walk was freedom. This is the flag that I carried on the back of it all the way. So the title of the book is going to be Experiencing Freedom, and the subtitle is Lessons Learned Through 10 Million Steps. That's how many steps it takes to walk 8,000 kilometers or 5,000 miles at the gait that I do, a fairly average gait. So as I went along, I was seeing the whole surroundings, right, my natural world, making comments on that. It's sort of a chronology. But then all of a sudden, something would come to mind. And in this case, something about the soul came to mind this one day that I was walking in eastern Newfoundland. So when I got to a rest area, a restaurant or whatever, I did some searches. That's when I usually do my internet. And I looked up at the time the definition and the etymology of the word. Oh no, sorry, I came about it the wrong way here. This is what I was getting at. The word psychology came to me. That's what it was. Somehow the word psychology came to me. And then I looked up psychology, and in the etymology, to my surprise, it wasn't so much about the mind, it was the study of the soul. That's what it actually says, the study of the soul. Ology is Greek for study, right? And the psyche is actually the soul. That's what it says. So question, what is the soul? So I did some etymological search there as well. And I found out that the soul, there's a lot of stuff written. There's different kinds of music, soul music and stuff. But coming down to this definition, it had to do with an entity which lives, feels, thinks, and wills. That was sort of an abbreviation of something I took off of etymology.com or something. Well, that's a pretty good estimate of what we are, right? So, according to this, we don't have a soul. We are a soul. If we are an entity which lives, feels, thinks, and wills, then that's not having something. That's isness, right? Pretty much. So you could say it's self, like an entity that does all this, that interacts and so on. That's what we call ourself normally, right? Well, then we could say that psychology is the study of self, in simple terms. And who was it once said? I don't know who it was, but I think it was Shakespeare and probably somebody else. Know thyself. Probably some wise information. I've talked about this before too, that, I've been in discussions with a lot of people about this kind of thing because, self-knowledge and becoming better at ourselves and how we operate in the world is such an advantage for us, right? Some people, they want to go really deep into the self side of things. What's the origin of that? And what's this God thing? And so on and deeper. And I've always kind of got that. I've got foot in both worlds in a way, really. I mean, hey, I'm not going to object to the idea that, I didn't create me to my knowledge, and my parents were just basically, doing the dance, and they didn't make up how it all works. So there's always the rest of the story, right? But how helpful is that, right? When we're busy people, like I consider myself a busy person. If I really don't know how the light bulb works, it's good enough that it works, because I got stuff to do in here. I'm gonna figure out how the micro theory of electricity. It's good enough that it works. So there's lots of things, and it's not to say not to put down what other people want to dig and dig and dig and dig. But I've come to agree with a lot of what the old Buddha was talking about, and I've got stuff from here from different Bhagavad Gita, Bible, something about the Koran, the Book of Mormon, um, psychocybernetics, Abraham Hicks, Dale Carnegie. I've got a variety of things. I've got a book on atheism, the dumbest religion on earth, and I got stuff on the Buddha. And there's this one book, Selves and Not Self, and he talks about in here about how it is that we human beings we want to keep asking what's this self thing, but and I don't do a great job of describing it because it's quite deep stuff. But his point of view is, well, why does that matter? I mean, because we got stuff to do, right? Like, how can we be better at what we're doing than trying to figure out what we are? Like, would it really matter if somebody knew how the electricity works in your computer, if they could build the computer? I mean, would you rather them sit back and explain the quantum theory of electricity rather than just build you a computer? You'd probably rather that, right? So the practical side of it, I kind of like the way he's talking about there. So questions: how can we become stronger physically and so on? How can we have a healthier life, better nutrition, better exercise, so on, right? How can we do our tasks more skillfully, more effectively? How can we get better at what we do? How can we be better parents? How can we be better at our jobs? How can we be better at operating our cars and our computers and our organization and our offices and stuff? This is important, right? How can we have better relationships? I mean, a lot of this stuff is endless. But to me, it's more practical than asking what's running it all. I mean, does it really matter? My attitude now is, well, just leave that to the gods. I mean, surely they can take care of us. They don't need me trying to figure them out. I get enough going on just trying to keep myself, learning stuff and being more effective. Every time I don't pay attention for a while, my little world turns into a disaster, pretty much, right? Chaos all of a sudden. It's the regression to the mean of nature wanting to take back over and shut me down. So, because I think that, the obsession of trying to figure things out is, well, it depends what we're doing, right? To me, anyways, it's ineffective to getting on with life. So, I think asking questions, how can it be done better? How can this be improved, whatever we're doing? Be our health, be our relationships, be our abilities, our skills, be it our health, our strength. How can these be improved upon? How can they be made better? And to remain curious and seeking for that sort of stuff. This, to me, is more along the lines of soul. Because the entity which lives is feeling, thinking, willing. Those are all things, those are actions. So the soul is an expression of action, right? When we are no longer living, we're not very active. So, God knows where the soul goes. But it doesn't really matter because we're here and now. Life is for the living. So why don't we just live, feel, think, and will our actions to get results in life? So, I don't know if I have a soul either. The our soul thing, well, whatever. Leave that to the jokes. But I think it's important to consider what's most important in this know thyself. My guess is the actions are important. All of them. The thinking, the feeling, the wills to create the actions. Steve here again, great chatting. Talk again soon. Bye for now.